What's up, YouTube? All right, so this is another quick tech tip for assembling coilover suspension. We actually have a setup here for our Corvette build, twin turbo LS C4 Corvette. So we're doing a 9-inch conversion on the back, and this is our coilover suspension. So I figured I would basically throw you guys a quick how-to for some of the beginner guys here that don't know about the coilover suspension and all the relevant stuff. So we'll just get up on this table here and we'll start this assembly. All right, get this out of the way for a moment. Oh, and the possible tools needed: clamp, possibly, and you definitely need some antices, and you might need a vise. So just depends on your desire of this. All right, and let's do the unboxing here for your direction. All right, so instructions basically. We don't need that. Very nice sticker. We like that for our toolbox. We have some of the body parts, and that's why the paper's down here. And then we have the coilover itself, and a box we no longer need. So, handy dandy razor. And remember, guys, always cut away from yourself. Alright, we'll get everything out and then we'll start breaking down what's what. Alright. Alright. Pretty coil over here. Put in their protect me bags that they love to do. Alright. So we'll set that there for now. Okay. Alright, so this is a adjustable, single adjustable. If it was double or dual, you'd have an adjustment up here or here. So that way you can actually adjust both directions. So, but how this works basically is the threaded body here has this guy, and it walks all the way down, and then your coilover lands on here. Now they provide you with this wear shim or spacer, whatever you want, that sits on top of that, and then this is your jam nut that goes in behind that. So essentially you'll assemble this and run it all the way down. Now if you didn't have an adjustable, you just had a standard coilover with non-adjustable, you could just run it in from the bottom. But in this case, you got to do this part of the installation first. Now, this guy is going to be in the way, and what that is, if you can see, warning you to put the Permatex, your antices. You can use any brand, but they mentioned that, and well, so did I. So it's just use this for anything like spark plugs. You know, basically anything going into, if you got aluminum, chrome, you know, parts like that, they like to seize up. So any kind of finished coated part, that anti-seize would be good for it. So, all right, so let's get that label off. We no longer need it. We know. All right. Now, if you pull that all the way out, the distance between here to here is what's considered your extended length. Okay? So that measurement to that measurement is what they're referring to when they say extended length. Now, when you shove it all the way in right now to that, that is your compression or compressed length. That essentially is the minimum that it will shrink from hole to hole. Now, what you're looking for is, when you're ordering or setting these up, is the recommended ride height. Now, what that means is you're going to have the distance that lands half of your extended and half of your compressed is your recommended ride height. So you pull it out, you know what that is. You push it in, you know what that is. Basically find out that distance. In this case, this is an 11 and a half is recommended for this guy. So we right now should be pretty close to that. And we are at 11 and 5/8. So not bad for a guesstimation on where I want to set it up. Okay, so first things first, you want to install your jam nut in this case, and it has two sides. We want this lip downward, so that way you have decent pressure hitting the surface when you attach the bottom. So you go with that one first. Alright. Alright, and then we can go ahead and set this guy on. And as you can see, this portion is up. And then you have the shim. So we will run all this all the way down. Alright. Okay, so as you see, we got all of them. We're going to run them all the way down. Oh, sorry, I'm doing that out of frame. Didn't mean to do that. Hang on. Alright, so just get that all the way down. Okay. Now you'll bring in your coil over. As you can see, it just kind of sits right there nicely. Now, unfortunately, sometimes when you're doing this, it's a little easier. Hang on, let me show you real quick. In order to get your top piece on, you've got to move that rubber bushing down. So you just grab this, and it can be a little snug on there sometimes. Give her a couple of twists and that'll get it out of the way. And then it goes like that, and then you shove that back in place. Alright, so let's wait till we get this back in place. Now you run this all the way down, because otherwise it would make this part rather difficult. And sometimes in some coilover setups, you will have to actually shove that down, hold that in place, and get that bushing and squeeze it back up there. Now, that rubber bushing in there, essentially its job is to stop the coilover from bottoming out. So that rubber bushing will hit this as your vehicle compresses the suspension. So ideally you don't want that to actually happen, of course. Now, at this point, you would run and adjust this into position where you want it. Now, since I'm working with such a short height, there's not really a lot of adjustment here, as you can see. And that's just how that goes. Now, the reason I said, I forgot to mention these. We have these two inserts, and then we have these two inserts, okay? 5/8 hole and 1/2 inch, if I remember correctly. Now, depending on what you're mounting to, these guys will get pushed into here, which is why I said we needed that dead blow and that clamp or the vise. Now, you need to know what you're actually mounting to, because different setups will require different size holes here. Common is your 5/8. 99% of your aftermarket or your 99% of your universal or hot rod or whatever kits, they come with the 5/8. Don't cut any corners. It's when you get to like your 70s and 80s vehicles, you'll get some of them that actually have that smaller 1/2 inch. Now, coilovers can also come with a bearing in here instead of these guys. And essentially, when a bearing style one would look like a Heim in there. So it has this kind of setup. Let's see, hang on. I might have one. Okay, so this is a very old one I just had on the shelf. But as you can see, it's got this little Heim style bearing in it. So a lot of your performance suspensions will actually have that on there. And what it is the head has those little grooves in there, right? On the newer ones. In fact, these probably actually have the grooves cut in them. You just can't see them because of the rubber bushing. But that groove right there, as you can see it, let's see if I can aim. It's a little cut in right there. Well, that is where like snap rings pop in. So you slide your bearing in, and you drop a snap ring on one side, push it against that snap ring, and then you drop your last snap ring in. That'll retain it in place. So that way you can have the option of having a bearing style coilover mount or your standard coilover mount. Okay, now, well, like I was saying before, when you're installing these guys, sometimes you need a couple of tools here. You have this spanner wrench. Basically that hooks into those grooves, and that's how you lock down and tighten these guys or loosen them. So you just turn it that way or turn it this way, and that will tighten or loosen whatever your desire may be. All right, so when you want to install your bushings here, which we're going to use the 5/8 here, I just kind of have it sitting off the vise here. I mean, you could use a table too, but I have a vise sitting here, and I'll give her a couple love taps, nothing major. Now, before I get to the point that I'm almost all the way in, you could continue that, but I don't want to bang that up against there. So what I'll use is this clamp, quick grip. It's I believe this one's rated up to like 500 pounds. So you just grab the end there and just clamp it. All right, pretty simple, and voila, it is physically mounted. All right, now the other side. There, in some cases, you will have need for one, and on the other side the other. You never know. The kit does come with both, so kind of good there. Now we'll lock that in. Try to make sure that you don't end up in an angle. It could get jammed in there a little bit and start cutting up the bushing itself. If you want, sometimes you can use the vise and slowly walk it in, but this tends to work best for me. So, all right, almost right to that edge again. I'll grab my clamp. All right, and there we go. That is that. Now, remember guys, if this is the final assembly and you are, in fact, knowing what you want this at, you need to put that anti-seize on these threads. You need to definitely gum up everything that these guys are going to be sitting on. You want all of that threading inside there with your anti-seize, because you will run into problems because of the body and the material. These both have coatings on them, so friction is going to cause that to heat up, and eventually it could jam up. So you don't want that. All right, so that is your single adjustable. As you can see, pretty simple, plus or minus. Coil over. And as you can see, QA1 has a nice large list of theirs. So there you go. Well, I hope that was helpful for you guys, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Jeremy, and this is Chaos Garage. We appreciate you viewing. So if you want to know more about the Corvette, check out our builds playlist. We'll have all that information and all those continuous videos there, and we use some of the information of the videos that we're building on that to help you guys with some quick tech tips. So all right, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment if you feel like you got a minute to do so.